mevatla to the Ratzon Hashem, that bittul, which became like the Malachi Asharis, that we became part of the message, that was a tikkun for the Chet of Adam Rishon. And that's why he said, Paska Zumasan. That's why whatever influence happened, whatever tuma went into Adam by Chet of Adam Rishon was Paska, came to an end by Nasa and Nishma. So now Klal Yisrael had this opportunity to receive the luchos the way they were. They're completely miraculous. Like we just learned that the luchos ma'aseh elokim miktav elokim, they were totally miraculous luchos. They were something that were to be given to Klal Yisrael, a miraculous angelic nation. And we again, similar, says Chaim Volozhiner, similar to the test that Adam had with the Nachash, we have one more test. Now that we got back to the matzah of Adam, we have one more test. Are we going to pass the test that Adam failed? And that test was the Erev Rav bringing us the Chet Egel. Erev Rav is Lashon Irbuvia, like Taruvus. Taruvus means a mixture, right? We have those Taruvus in Yeridea. So the Erev Rav is that they were coming to try to be Ma'arev, the Ra, the Tuma, back into Klal Yisrael. Like in place of the Nachash. They were manifesting the mission of the Nachash that performed Adam Rishon. It reappeared again in the form of the Erev Rav. So Klal Yisrael again had the test that Adam had, and just like Adam failed the test, also Klal Yisrael failed that test. Hema ka'adam over bris. The pasuk says, David Melech said, Hema ka'adam over bris. They, Klal Yisrael, Chet Ego, like Adam, transgressed the bris. So again, we got the Ra moved back into us. We lost that effect of that. The effect of Nasa V'Nishma. When Klal Yisrael said Nasa V'Nishma, we got two crowns on our head. One Keneged Nasa, one Keneged Nishma. The concept of a crown means that it's an expansion beyond. A crown shows that someone goes beyond themselves. A king puts on a crown shows that he's greater than what meets the eye. There's something greater than just the puniness of the person. So crowns mean that we have an expanded consciousness. When we said Nasa V'Nishma, our consciousness expanded, our neshamos to be able to receive all that kedusha of the Torah, to be a receptacle for all that. And we lost a big part of that when we had the Chet Egel. It says V'snatzlu ed yom har chorev. They lost their crowns from har chorev. But when we did tshuva, what different than Adam Rishon, when we performed tshuva, we got a second set of luchos. So we salvaged part of what we lost. We salvaged part of that Nasa V'Nishma. But to bring it totally into focus, in order to really bring it back, we had a tzivui to create a Mishkan. The Mishkan is what's going to bring the Shekhinah back to us. Like Har Sinai, like Ramban learns that the same Hashras Shekhinah that it was at Har Sinai, Ramban says time and time again, through the Hakdama to Truma and throughout all these parshios, that everything about the Mishkan represented a rebuilding of Har Sinai. The Kruvim were the reddish gold, similar to the Eish of Har Sinai, and the Dibur of Hashem came down through the Shnei Kruvim to Moshe Rabbeinu, and everybody had to stand back. There was Machane Levia, Machane Shechina, Machane Levia, Machane Yisrael. Certain people were allowed to walk into certain parts, just like Har Sinai, only Moshe could go up, and then there were different layers of Kedusha and layers of what people were allowed to be. So that continued in the Mishkan, because it was called God of V'lo Yosef. The great call of Har Sinai was called out and it never ended. And where it never ended was in the Mishkan, like Rashi in the beginning of Vayikra says that Hakol is Vayishma es Hakol, the Kol, the same voice that he heard at Har Sinai, the same power of the voice that Hashem spoke at Har Sinai that was heard around the world was also heard within the Mishkan. It's just that voice stopped when it hit the walls of the Mishkan, didn't go outside of it. But within it, it was continuation of Har Sinai. And the way that it was, the way the Mishkan completed that tikkun of the Shuvah of Yom Kippur, because the Mishkan is tied together with Yom Kippur. As we know, the Vilna Gaon says that famous gra that Chag HaSukkos, we are celebrating the Anania Kavod, not the Anania Kavod that we left Mitzrayim with, because that we on Pesach. The Anania Kavod that came back when they started building the Mishkan, when Moshe came down and they said that Hashem accepted our kapara, our tshuva, and then it took 5 days to come down, command the Mishkan, gather the materials, start building it, and then the 15th of Tishrei is when they started building it, and that's when Anania Kavod came back. That Hashem showed us that Hashem accepts our tshuva mamash and brought the Shekhinah, beginnings of the Shekhinah back to us. So But the way that the Mishkan is a tikkun for the Chet Egel, partially, and to bring us back a little bit to what Adam Rishon had, is by creating it precisely the way that Hashem said. When Hashem filled them up with all that chachma, like the Ramban says a few times, that the miraculous chachma that they got to build a Mishkan, they had no idea how to do gold work and silver work and all this type of handiwork, woodwork and weaving and sewing and all these things. They had no idea. They had just built bricks until then. And when they stood up, Nasa Libam, they stood up and said, we'll do it. Ramban says that when Nasa Libam sounds like a chutzpah, but it's a positive chutzpah. The positive chutzpah that Hashem said to do it, I'll do it. I don't know how, but I'll do it. And then Hashem filled in the chachma they didn't have to be able to do it. So all that wisdom, all that chachma, gave them the ability also to embellish it and to make it even nicer. There's a baseline of what Moshe told them to do, what Hashem told, how he said to build the menorah and all the kelim and the Mishkan. With all of that extra wisdom, all that chachma, they easily could have put in many beautiful embellishments. Okay, there's supposed to be a certain number of prochim and buttons and flowers and things on the menorah, but I could add another beautiful flower over here, another beautiful extra thing over there, and a lot of beautiful things that can embellish it, made it even more beautiful. So here is where they had their chance, and here's the test that they actually did pass. And that's why at the end of this parsha, it says 18 times that Vasuasa, not only did they do it, which is that, it's enough of a big enough nace that they're able to do it. It's amazing that they were commanded at all to do it. People had no clue how to do it. And then it's amazing that they accepted on themselves to do it. That's why there's a second repetition. The third repetition of all the entire thing again is Asuasa. They actually did it. Wow, look, each kli they did, each kli that they created is a separate nace that Hashem gave them that amount of chachma to be able to create that thing they had no idea what to do. But on top of that, not only did they create it, but again, it says again and again and again, Kasher Tzuba Hashem as Moshe. They did exactly the way Hashem said to command to do it. They didn't change it one iota. And that bittul of their das took them back to, at least a little bit, back to Nasav and Nishma that they said originally. That Nasav and Nishma that they said when they're Mavata themselves and they became nothing but a conduit for Hashem to come down to this world, in the same way they said Nasav and Nishma, and that brought the Shekhinah down to Har Sinai. They were able to actually, in Kabbalah Torah, the Shekhinah came down like never before. So also here, the end of this parsha coming up, the end of Sefer Schmooze, which is Chazak, is the end of the culmination of Kasher Tziva Hashem es Moshe is Vaymalei Kvod Hashem es Mishkan, that the Kvod Hashem came down into the Mishkan. The Ramban says that it's obvious question that this parsha, all these parshios really don't belong in this Sefer Chumash at all, you would think. The Ramban says that Sefer Shmos is the Sefer of the Gullus and the Gula Mimina. And the Sefer of V'yikra is the Sefer Karbonos. So Karbonos need a place to bring them. So it would make a lot more sense to end Sefer Shmos with Kabbalah Satorah, that was the Tachlis of Yitzias Mitzrayim, and then start building the Mishkan in Sefer V'yikra. Why is it here? Why is it in Sefer Shmos? Says the Ramban that the Gula was not just leaving Mitzrayim, physically leaving Mitzrayim, because the Gullus was also not just going physically to Mitzrayim. The Gullus was that the Avos, Hen and Merkava, the Avos were like a Merkava the Shekhinah. They were like a resting place, a riding place, like a Merkava for the Shekhinah to ride on. Wherever you saw the Avos, you saw the Shekhinah. They were like a walking, living Beis Hamikdash. The Shekhinah was in their homes. It was the cloud was over, like Yitzchak, when he brought Rivka and the cloud came back that was there before. There was a cloud of, just like we had the Anania Kavod later on, they had Anania Kavod around them. That Shekhinah was mamish with there with Avos themselves individually. When they went to Mitzrayim, not only did they lose their place in Eretz Yisrael, they lost that connection to the Shekhinah. They lost that Merkava the Shekhinah. They lost that individual living like a Mishkan. So says the Ramban, the Gula will not be shlema, the Gula is not mushlam until Ad Shalom Milas Avosim Yashuvu, says the Ramban, until they return back to the Mila of the Avos. And it says that when we have V'malei Kvod Hashem es Mishkan, when the Mishkan was filled up with that Kvod Hashem, then it says, Oz Nechshavu Geulin, says the Ramban. Then they were considered Geulin. Then the Gula actually had come. That's why the Dayenus in the Haggadah Shel Pesach end with the last Dayenu, Achas Kama V'Kama. that he did take us out of Mitzrayim, and he did this, all the different things he did, and he built for us a Beis Alami, and built a Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim. What does that do with the Haggadah Shel Pesach? The Haggadah Shel Pesach is a story of Gulas Mitzrayim. Why do we end up with Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim? Why does that? So Moshe Shapira Zatzal said, because with this Ramban, that's the final end of the Gula was when we had a Makom Kavua for the Mishkan, which became the Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim. Then the Gula was Mamish Mushlam with that, because that's what the Shekhinah was down in a set place forever in Yerushalayim. So that's how, now we understand why the Mishkan is a tikkun for Chet Ego. We understand why there's so many repetitions, and why the Torah says again and again, Kasher Tziva Shemesh Moshe Mevatel your das to the das of Makom, to the das of Kadosh Baruch Hu. And why this is so significant to what we're about to embark on now, in another Mirz Hashem, 2 years of Limud Halacha. We said that we are Mahalchim. We're walking among the Malachim which are standing still. How are we Mahalchim? That's the word Halacha. Right? We don't call it chukim, just chukim shvatim. With the overall body of what we have to do, Klal Yisrael is halacha. Halacha is walking. We're mahalchim ben amin me'ela through the halacha. In that, how are we mahalach with halacha? If we're mevatel our das to the das of Kadosh Baruch Hu, the only way to do that is not just to learn a kitzur Shulchan Aruch, which is good, and just that's important in its own right. But to really be mevatel your das, to be able to come to the madrega of Nasa and Nishma, is only through limud halacha be'iyun, through its sources, learn it through starting with the sugyas and learn the sugyas well and geshmak, and like the Edway Tal says, the famous Edway Tal in Agdama, besimcha, because it has to be nivla badama, it has to become part of us, and the only way something becomes part of us is through simcha, with the geshmak. V'harev now we say every day. We start off, let it be geshmak. It's not enough that we learn it, or we learned it in a way with simcha. The simcha is part of the simcha is the Havanas Torah, and the simcha that we're doing the Ratzon Hashem, and we're mevatel our das. The more we're able to mevatel our das to the Ratzon Hashem, the more we are actually inculcating the halacha. We're being mahalchim through the halacha, and we learn how. Now we're starting with Bishul Akum. And with Hashem, we'll go to Mezuzah and to other things we're going to be learning. So the more we learn it properly, the more we'll understand what we'll do it. Kasher Tziva Hashem as Moshe, the way that Hashem wanted us to do it. And that way, we'll actually bring the Shekhinah down to us and to all of our efforts and all the kids we're trying to affect and the communities we're trying to affect and all the work we're trying to do. We are trying to bring the Shekhinah down to make it there with us wherever we are, wherever Klal Yisrael is. It says that wherever Klal Yisrael goes, Shkinta b'galusa, the Shekhinah is in the Gullus. But how do we bring the Shekhinah into the Gullus? How do we make it relevant with us? The Gemara says in Brachos that Yishachar Beis Hamikdash in the Kadosh Baruch Hu ba'olamo eladal amo she'alacha b'olvad. Once there's a Churban Beis Hamikdash, what today the Beis Hamikdash is, says the Gemara, Dalad amo she'halacha, the place where halacha is learned deeply and learned properly. There were times that I wanted to ask for things in Yerushalayim. Instead of going to the Kosel, I would go to outside Rosh Shlomo Zalman's office in his house, where he was sitting and learning, and I would stand and daven at that wall. I think that was mamish the Kosel. That was Dalad al Halacha on our door. That where halacha is being nischadish and coming out to Klal Yisrael. That was really the Kosel. So wherever we learn halacha, wherever we sit and learn halacha properly, that becomes a miktsas, a miniature of this Mishkan. That now the Beis Hamikdash is back to the matzav of Mishkan because it's back on the move again. But it's moving with us. It's moving wherever we are, wherever we're learning halacha properly and be'inun. So Mirz Hashem will really embark on this now together, and we say strength is a number, as the Mishnah says in Avos. The more that learn together, the more the Hashras Shekhinah. There's Shekhinah by 1, there's more Shekhinah by 2, there's even more by 3, more by 5, by 10. And the more there are, the more Shekhinah, the more Hashyata Deshmaya we have. So we've doubled our numbers, Baruch Hashem. So we've gone from 15 that have gone through it to another 15 or more even that are joining. And Mr. Hashem, the Hashyata Deshmaya should be kafel and l'chupol. We should all have that Hashyata Deshmaya to steig and to grow and grow our communities and our kids with us and everyone that we're affecting, our families with us. And Hashyata Deshmaya, this should really bring the final Hashras Shekhinah in Klal Yisrael. Okay, So,
Man, I did miss the beginning of the recording because it was not set automatically, but I'll upload this one and mention that we missed the first half, and if anyone wants to catch up, they'll call you personally. But I got it somewhere we started the recording somewhere in the middle. But that's on me. We'll fix that for next time.
so say again. I'm sorry.
We'll fix that for next time. We missed the beginning of the recording. I did not set it to record automatically. So I started the recording in the middle. That's why I was going on and off. But next time, if they want to catch up on the share, they'll call you so that you can have. We did it on purpose, back and forth. The problem is now this is recorded, so everyone knows what I just said. Okay. If they watch it, we'll see.
All right.
But yeah.
Good. Okay. Let's talk about it.
Shkoch Rav.